and welcome to another video. Today's video I am doing my June reading wrap up, and let me just say I read quite a few books in June. It was most probably the best reading month for me this year so far, so I'm really excited to get into this video and talk about the books that I read. So let's get on with it, shall we? So it's in like no particular order, but I'll start off with the Read with Ben book, which for those who don't know, Read with Ben is my read along, which I host every single month, and I have for like a year and a half now, where I pick a book or a series and we read it together over on Instagram with the hashtag Read with Ben. Now this month we read the Geneva Project series, and this is book 2, Secrets by Christina Benjamin, and I'm gonna highlight this one because it's my favourite one in the series so far. So this is a fantasy series with a bit of a Harry Potter edge, set on an island where these orphans kind of go to school but also use a slaves by the people. It turns out that, and they don't know their names, but it turns out this girl, who's like number whatever, she finds out she's got superpowers, and so has some of her friends, and it's about them all banding together to overthrow and cause a revolution and to get better treatment, and it's a really wonderful book. Now the reason why I love this one, it got so fantasy based, the characters were so good, the relationships, the action, it was so fast paced, so I'm definitely highlighting Secrets by Christina Benjamin. The first book, Truth, is free to download, so if you want to go and read it and try it out, go and download for free, but I highly recommend you getting book 2 too, because I loved Secrets so much. Okay, the next book that I'm talking about is Genesis Girl by Jennifer Bardsley. Now this book was so good to me. Now, I love dystopian futuristic novels, and this basically is set in a world where everybody is obsessed with the internet and really kind of evolved with the internet. Now, but there's people who are completely pure and have never had any virtual footprint, and they are sold off at a certain age to the highest bidder to become like the face of a brand, and because they have no social media footprint and nobody knows anything and there's that air of mystery, people are obsessed. So they could say that a certain soap is the best soap and they would buy it. Now it follows a girl who has no virtual footprint, and she gets mixed up in with a blogger they call them like viruses because they are like everywhere posting like TMZ and Perez Hilton kind of like obsessive posting, trying to ruin people's lives on social media. And it's a wonderful book and an amazing start to a series, and it came out this month in June, and I really love it, and I'm really excited about the sequel, which I will be reading when it comes out. And Genesis Girl by Jennifer Bardsley is definitely one of the most interesting dystopian books I've read in a very long time. What am I talking about now? I read book 1 and 2 in the Nil series by Lynn Matson. I have got book 3 to read, but I'm going to be reading that next month most probably. This is following an island, which is like this mystical island which you can suddenly appear on if you go through a certain portal by accident, and you have 365 days to escape, and if you don't escape, you die. But the problem is, how the hell do you escape? I really enjoyed these first 2 books. It was such a fast-paced, action-packed series. Kind of one of my favourite things about a series, actually, the whole survival, race against time element. So, Lynn Matson, I love you and I love these books. Thank you so much for sending them to me. I love them. Next, I read The Lovely Reckless by Kami Garcia, which is a contemporary novel by Kami Garcia, which is coming out really soon. And this book blew me away. Now, I'm going to put it out there. I actually quite dislike contemporaries. I never can connect to characters, never can connect to the romance, being a gay male. But this one was fantastic because it had the air of mystery and a bit of a thriller as well. It kind of had that what is going on, who killed the boyfriend feel. It's a really awesome book about this girl who's troubled after witnessing her boyfriend's death, and she didn't do anything to intervene, and she kind of goes down on this downhill spiral, moves schools, loses her place at Yale, I think it's Yale, and gets entwined with this hot racer boy, and it's like kind of awesome. And I actually sat in bed and I read from like page 70 all the way to the end, and I loved it. But I love Kami Garcia, so I feel like maybe I'm biased, but it is a good book, and it's out October 2016, so definitely keep an eye out for this one. And my favourite quote is like on the back, I mean this book's filled with quotes by other authors, like Kami Garcia has truly topped herself by Colleen Hoover, An Insanely Addictive Sexy Rush by Alison Noel, Page-Turning Suspense by Jennifer Armentrout, A Pitch Perfect Story by Marie Lu. So many people have read this and loved it, so guys, check it out. The next book I read was a book which I actually super duper enjoyed, and I've spoken to the author a lot this past month, and she's a wonderful, wonderful human being, and it's a vampire novel, guys. It's a vampire novel, and that book is The Dawning of Scarlet by Jennifer Osborne. Now this book follows a girl who is the daughter of this vampire. In the beginning of the book, you find out about this woman who's having a baby, and she's trying to escape from her husband, and he's trying to kill her. She has this baby in secret, and this baby Scarlet is brought up by her uncle, her mum's brother, and also her like foster dad, who's the one that saved her when her mum was giving birth. And she basically, the whole point is she needs to get to a certain age to get to her dawning, and her dawning's all about taking the blood of a parent to learn all their skills and all the history from their blood. But actually her dad, Apollo, wants to kill her and is constantly trying to kill her and trying to stop this from happening. This book is really about friendship, relationship, coming of age, this whole idea of coming to dawning, coming to age. She's kind of kick-ass, and my favourite scene in this book has to be where she is witnessing a mugging and in a side street, and she stops it in the most coolest of ways. She's a really cool vampire, and I really like Jennifer Osborne, so I would really appreciate if you guys go and check this book out, support the author and read it. It was a really wonderful, wonderful read. I love vampires, guys. I love vampires. I'm sorry, I love them. I love them. A fantasy book which I absolutely goddamn bloody enjoyed this month was The Key by Jennifer Ann Davis. Now this is about a girl who is the daughter of these old people of rulers of this kingdom, like the Good Kingdom, and that which they were all killed off when during this siege when these evil people tried to take over, and they did take over, but nobody knows the baby escaped with this other guy, and she's been brought up in like a farmer's kind of place, and she meets the evil king's prince, the son, and his brother. The good son's really nice, she kind of likes him, but the brother takes a shine to her and practically kidnaps her and forces her to marry him. But it's all about the fact that she's actually the princess to the old kingdom, and she's actually the person that should be on the throne, but nobody knows, and it's all about that. And it was actually a fantastic book, and it ends on the biggest cliffhanger. Why would you do this to me, Jennifer Ann Davis? Why? But it was such a good fantasy read, and I would highly recommend anybody to check it out. I really, really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to read the rest of the books, to be honest. And I love the cover design. I always look at it and notice new things. Like, I actually can see the girl's hair, the eyes, and the swords are key. It's great. It's so good, and I need the rest. I read this in one sitting, so I love it. Another book I read this month was Sword of Deaths by Christopher Menino. This is the sequel to School of Death, which is about Grim Reapers going to a school to learn to be Grim Reapers, but there's all this like problems between the different races of people, the elementals and the Grim Reapers. The fact that this girl, she's the only female Grim Reaper in a long time, and the last one was an evil witch. And it kind of has like a Harry Potter Hogwarts kind of theme, but also the sequel kind of got more into like Game of Thrones. But if you like that whole idea of a girl just living a normal life on her deathbed, when a guy comes knocking on the door and says, "You're a Grim Reaper, come with me," and they go to an alternate world where there's Grim Reapers at this school, there's magic, there's elementals, there's shapeshifters, there's all these amazing things. I really, really highly enjoyed this book. I also read a really fantastic supernatural book this month, and that was The Reluctant Sacrifice by Kurt and Dempster. Now, this book blew my mind. Reluctant Sacrifice is this very supernatural, stuffed with steroids book, and I really loved it. It kind of starting off a series by Kurt and Dempster, which I cannot wait to get back into. It's all about this girl who can shift her body into other people, shift her soul into other people. She's a jumper, and everybody wants her to die and be killed and sacrificed, so all the other supernaturals from this old world can go back to this old world because they've all been banished, and to get back in they have to sacrifice her. So she's constantly on the run from shapeshifting, eagle people, elementals, like all these different powers to basically not get killed. And it's a really wonderful book about trust more than anything. What I really liked about this book is the building, and I really wish there was so much more action, but I really am so excited about the next book because I feel like this next book is going to be filled with action and filled with suspense, and the characters are just... The ending of this book made me cry. I was like, but for a good reason. I was like, oh my god, it's ended so perfectly. But yes, I loved The Reluctant Sacrifice, so you guys should check it out if you enjoy supernatural books. I also read A Fairy's Curse by Rachel Morgan, which is the 6th book in the Creepy Hollow series, which I obviously love the Creepy Hollow series. You all know I've been talking about this book for like over a year now. This is the final book in the 2nd trilogy of the series, and ending Calla's story was so bittersweet for me. I thought I loved Violet as a character the most, but then when I read Calla, I kind of fell in love with her. I really related to Calla, actually, surprisingly, a lot more than I did Violet, and I loved Violet's stories. So I read this book and kind of was a bit obsessed with it all, and I am kind of upset and bittersweet that her trilogy is over. I wish it was carrying on, but it's not. But what's good is the next 3 books is going to be about another character in the Creepy Hollow series, and I'm really wondering who it's going to be about. I really love this idea of a world of fairies protecting the human race from other fairies, but also like creatures, mythical creatures. And I don't want to talk too much about what happens in this book because it will spoil the first trilogy and spoil everything else. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just know if you love fairy, fays, if you love alternate worlds, if you love protecting the human race, magic abilities, then this is definitely a series for you. And last but not least, a book which I managed to fit in yesterday and read the whole thing is the proof copy of Three Dark Crowns by Kendall Blake. Now, I really enjoyed this book. The beginning was slow as hell. I couldn't get into it. I didn't really understand what was going on, but that's because every chapter is told from one of the 3 queens' perspectives. So it's constantly changing perspectives. And I think to help that, it would have helped if at the beginning of the chapter at the top it said the name of the queen. Instead of like the place the queen's from, but after a while you get used to it and it's kind of slow and it builds up slowly, and at the end it gets really good. So that's why I kind of gave it like a 3.5 4 stars on Goodreads. It was just a bit slow to start with, and I was like, no, I'm gonna read this. This is one of my most anticipated releases of the year. I love Kendall Blake. I've read all of her books she's got out so far, and I was like, right, I love Kendall Blake as an author, so I'm going to read it. And although the beginning was slow, the ending definitely didn't disappoint. And with fantasies, especially like high fantasies like this, it's not really high, but it's kind of like upper fantasy and below high fantasy. You need the world building, you need the character building, and it just took a while to get into, and once I did, I managed to read it in one sitting. And saying that, it's almost 400 pages long and I read it in one sitting, so it must have been good because I did that. So yes, I highly do recommend this one. If you like books with like a slow pace and then building up to something amazing, this is definitely for you. I will be rereading it when the sequels come out, and I will be reading the sequels because of the ending. Oh my god. But yes, I highly recommend this one too. So I had an amazing reading month, as you can tell. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I apologise for it being super long, but I can't wait to see what I have to read in next month, so keep an eye out for my TBR video tomorrow. And apart from that, I'll see you all very soon. Bye!